Hello students. In this video we will start with a new chapter, that is fun with magnets. Now you all must have seen magnets at different places, for example in a pin holder or in your refrigerator door. Now all these magnets, they are used in some types of gadgets, and a magnet is fitted in the cap of a pin holder and in the door of a refrigerator. And if you have observed both of these things, so these objects are made up of iron, and iron objects stick to a magnet. Now there are few metals which attract towards a magnet, and those metals which substances gets attracted towards a magnet, we call it as magnetic materials. And the substances which do not get attracted towards a magnet, they are called as non-magnetic materials. So for example, if you take a sawdust and you add few iron fillings in it and you put a magnet around it, the sawdust and the iron filling mixture, you can see that the iron filling is going to attract towards the magnet, whereas the dust particle or the sawdust is not going to attract. So this property of the metal getting attracted towards a magnet, so this is called as the magnetic material. So there are few substances like we have iron, cobalt and nickel. These three substances possess the magnetic property and they are called as the magnetic materials, and this property is also called as magnetism. If we have to see the shape or size of a magnet, so the magnet exists in different shape. For example, a bar shape, so it is called as a bar magnet. If it is in a horseshoe shape, it is called as a horseshoe magnet. We have a needle magnet, cylindrical magnets we have, oval shape magnets are there, ring magnets are there. These are all different shapes of the magnet. The different shape and size of the magnet is used for different purposes. The shape and size depends on the purpose in which you have to use that particular magnet, and that magnet is used for that particular purpose. So here we have a small demonstration of our experiment where we have taken some sawdust, we have taken few bits of paper, we have taken iron fillings and we have mixed it all together. We have taken a bar magnet, and when you rotate from that mixture of the entire three or four substances, you can see only the substance which is made up of iron, nickel and cobalt. Those substances are going to attract towards a magnet, whereas bits of paper, saw, dust, sand, this is not going to attract. So they have the property of magnetism. So how magnets were discovered? So there is a legend about the discovery of the magnet, and it is said that there was a shepherd whose name was Magnus. He used to live in Greece, and once while he was taking his sheep for grazing, so there he sat beside a rock, and surprisingly he saw that his stick got attracted towards the rock, and he tried to pull the stick through from that rock, and he saw that it was very difficult for him to remove the stick from the rock. And so from there, this was discovered. So the rock was named after him. His name was Magnus. So they used to name the rock as magnetite. And later on, from that discovery, we developed the property of magnetism and magnet. Now, in earlier days, the people in China and Europe, they used to use a piece of magnet. They used to hang it freely, and it used to get settled in north and south direction. And these rock used to give them the directions while they were traveling to an unknown region. And that is why these stones were called as the leading stones or the lodestones. So in earlier time, as the stones were used for traveling purpose, so they used to call it as the lodestone, and afterwards we named it as the marina compass. So marina compass are used to locate a particular direction, to say whether we are have to go in a south direction or in the north direction, or whether we are going in a proper direction or not. So these compasses are used for these purpose. Let us now discuss about magnetism. So when a magnet attracts an object, that object is displaced due to a magnetic force in it. And in place of factories or garbage ports, so large objects are shifted from one place to the other place. And for this purpose, the huge cranes, they are fitted with magnets and they are used. So work is done with the magnetic force, and we can say that the magnetism is also a kind of energy. Let us now learn about few characteristics of magnet. So the first characteristics of magnet is that a magnet will always settle in north and south direction. So if you take your magnet and if you hung it freely, it will always going to get settled in the north and south direction. So as here you can see, we have taken a magnet and we have hung our magnet freely, and after even if you rotate the entire magnet, you will see that when it stops rotating, when it settles itself, it is going to set in north and south direction. So this thing you'll have to remember, that magnet will always get settled in north and south direction. Now, the end of the magnets, the points which are there in the two ends, we call it as the two poles of the magnet. And the two end, one pole is called as the north pole and one pole is called as the south pole. North pole is denoted by N, capital N, and south pole is denoted by S, that is capital S. So the magnetic force, all the magnetic force is concentrated at the two ends of the magnet or the two poles of the magnet. So if you take a bar magnet and if you rotate it through the sawdust iron filling mixture, you will see that all the iron filling gets attracted towards the corners only. Okay, nothing will get attracted in between. So why it is happening? Because most or all the force which is there, the magnetic force, it is all concentrated at the poles. For our next characteristics, we have taken a bar magnet and we have divided it into half. So if you divide the entire bar magnet into half, it is not that the north and south pole is going to get separated. A north and a south pole of a magnet can never be separated, even if you cut a magnet into minute or the tiniest piece. So if a magnet is divided into many parts, for example, we have a bar magnet and we have divided into two parts. So the two independent parts are formed. Earlier we have one, if you have divided, so two magnets are formed now. So from this you can say that the poles of the magnets can never be separated. You cannot ever separate the north and the south pole. Even if you cut the magnet, you will have the small part of the magnet will have both its north and south poles. So the poles of the magnet can never be separated. For the next characteristic, we have to take a magnet and we have to take a small iron plate, and you have to just put it near your magnet or attach it near your magnet. And if you keep your little bit iron object near it or iron fillings near it, you will see that when the magnet is attached to that iron plate, the small particles, the iron fillings, they were getting attracted towards the iron plate. Now why it was happening is because when a magnetic material, you can bring iron, cobalt or nickel near a magnet. So whenever a magnetic material is brought near a magnet, so even that magnetic material acquires the property of magnetism. And as it is the acquired property, so this magnetism is called as the induced magnetism or the forced magnetism. And as in the second picture, you can see as soon as you remove the magnet away from the iron plate, you can see that all the iron fillings has fallen down. So why this is happening is because as soon as you remove the magnet away, it loses its magnetism, the induced magnetism is lost, and there is no magnetism present in that small iron object. Another property is that there is repulsion between the like poles and attraction between the unlike poles. So if you take two magnets and if you bring north and north together, so it is going to repel each other. It will push each other away. But if you bring a north and a south pole together, it is going to attract each other. So we say that there is attraction between the unlike poles, and repulsion between the like poles. Now you can even create an artificial magnet. So for that you have to take a iron object or any magnetic material, and you have to rub the magnet on that particular material, and for some time the magnetism property is passed on to that material, and it will have a little bit of that property, but it is a very weak magnetism property which is getting transferred. Now we can even create an electromagnet. So for that you will need a battery, you will need a copper wire, an iron nail. You have to rotate the copper wire on the iron nail, and as you stick both the ends to a battery, you will find that the iron materials start to attract towards it, and it is called as an electromagnet. Now these electromagnet properties used in many purposes, and the magnetism which is produced due to electric current, that property is called as the electromagnets. Electromagnets are used in many day-to-day life activities. Many instruments work on electromagnets, such as we have a doorbell or a crane. So these magnets, these electromagnets, they can function in a very broad manner. Even the machines, the CT scan or the MRI scan which we have, the electronic machine that we have for our debit card and all to swipe our debit cards, even our phone has a magnet in it, and it is working with the help of electric current, so that all the property of all these substances, they use the property of electromagnet, where magnetism and electric current are combined together. Now, the property of electromagnetism is also used to build a train which is called as a maglev train. So, in this, the property of electromagnetism and the repulsion between the magnets, all these two properties are used. And due to repulsion between the train and the rail, the force of the friction, it does not comes into the play, and the train slides over the rail with a great speed. So the magnets can be fixed towards the two ends of the train, and it helps the train to move forward. So even the electromagnetism is used in such purpose. Now you all must have observed an ATM card or your credit card. So there is a strip of magnetic material, the black color which you can see behind. So that is the strip of the magnetic material. It stores all the information of the user. So the magnetic materials are also used to store data in the hard disk of a computer, and audio or video or tape, all these things to store it, we use these magnetic materials are also used. So if we do not take care of our magnet, the magnetism property can be destroyed, and the magnets can get destroyed. So the magnetism can get destroyed when you heat a magnet, or you throw a magnet, or the magnet is broken into very small pieces. So it is important to store the magnet properly. So for that we have a magnet keeper. So that magnet keeper is used so that the object or our magnet cannot be destroyed. There is a bar of soft iron which protects the magnet from any harm. And so as it is protecting the magnet, it is called as a magnet keeper. So it will protect your magnet. So with this we complete our chapter. We have learned about magnet, we have learned about magnetic materials, how it was discovered, who discovered it, where it is used. We have learned about few characteristics of magnet, and we have also learned that how the properties of magnet can be destroyed.